It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
I want to pivot to current trends because we've given you guys a lot of historical context. And like I told you, I've got enough years under the belt that I recognize things. Like I said, the technology's different, the packaging's different, even the item is different, but it's still being sold the same way. It's still appealing to the same emotions and the whole FOMO, the fear, the greed, all these things. It doesn't matter if in the old days it was tangible or something you plant in the yard. Now it's digital, and you think, hey, I'm young, I understand this better than the boomer down the street. You're still highly susceptible to the exact same human emotions that are driving these things historically.
And dare I say, and I may be wrong about this, you'll have to correct me, I think it's easier now to get drawn into it because of that very reason. It is on our fingertips. It is in our social media. It is in mainstream media. It is everywhere that we look. It's easy for us to get sucked into that. I got to believe back during Tulip Mania, you probably had to be near somebody that had tulips to kind of know what was going on and get excited about
remember, I had to bike to the local convenience store to see the most recent Beckett's on the trading cards. Now, anybody who has a mobile phone, you have access to what is the perceived scarce value of these goods we're about to talk about. And I'll jump right into the first one is GameStop.
And we don't specifically mean GameStop. We more mean the idea of GameStop and what we've recently seen with the unbelievable run-up of GameStop as an individual stock holding.
Well, let's face it. This is the Reddit boards. And I get this visual. I mean, and it is... I feel like young folks that are jumping on this whole Reddit thing and what happened with GameStop, AMC, and others is that in a lot of ways, you feel like you're a band of Capital One Viking, part of the Viking horde,
fighting the cause.
Where you're taking down the big guys, the Wall Streeters and so forth. And I kind of get that. I can understand that. But I think that there's a lot of people that are joining the Viking horde that haven't made sure that they got the fundamentals covered before they're, before they're buying the Viking helmet. That it just doesn't make sense. Because let's face it, what's going on with GameStop is that you've got a business model that's struggling because people just aren't
buying
games and going to the local retailer to buy these things. So you got lots of locations, real estate. When everybody's doing this now digitally, and then you find out that you have a bunch of hedge funds and Wall Street groups that are shorting the stock to the point that they got themselves in trouble. It is the perfect setup for the Reddit boards and everything else that have driven this. I just worry about that people get so caught up in the speculation of driving prices up and down that you forget that fundamentals is what's going to build financial independence for you.
I think that's so big, Brian, because when you think about it, you just said it, GameStop is a company that is likely not moving in the direction that the future is moving. And the reason people from Wall Street bets are investing in it has absolutely nothing to do with what the company does and the revenue the company is going to generate for the next 1, 3, 5, 20 years, for the cash that it returns to its investors. It was solely and exclusively because of this idea, this technical thing that was going to take place. Whenever you start throwing your money at an investment, and it's not grounded in fundamentals, it's more grounded in momentum or the herd or the shift, I think you have to pause and think, wow, what am I doing here? Is this where I should actually be putting my capital?
I want to pivot now from GameStop and what's going on with the Reddit boards. And I want to talk about, this doesn't just appeal to young people.
Nope.
Because, look, I'm middle-aged, go on an annual golf trip with my former neighbors from Georgia. I kid you not, this is where my life intersects with current trends is we all, because we're coming from different parts, a lot of them are coming from Georgia still. I'm coming from Tennessee. We all rode differently. I flew down, and then they, first question gets asked, Brian, what do you think about those? And by the way, they didn't call it this. I'm going to give you the full name because they give me the acronym. But they say, what do you think of special purpose acquisition companies?
Oh, you mean SPACs? What do you think about SPACs?
I'm like, what the heck? I mean, looking forward to the golfing that we're going to be doing, hanging out, and they're talking to me about SPACs. I mean, this is the craziest thing because that's what's going on. People are excited about this stuff. So I feel like I need to give a little context and history. In the fact, first of all, what is a SPAC?
What is it? What is a SPAC?
So you guys know when a company goes public, usually you have to have you have to have the business, you have to have something that makes your company stand out and be profitable. And then after you reach a level of success, you decide instead of it being private and owned by the founders and initial investors, we're going to take this thing to the public so we can go and expand it even further. Instead of going that traditional path with an initial public offering to take your company public, with a SPAC, you're basically saying, no, we're going to go raise the money first. We don't actually have a business. We don't have anything kind of figured out that we're buying yet. But the reputation or whoever's organizing this is strong enough that they're just basically gathering money from folks, and then they'll figure out what to do with it later so you can go and invest in this acquisition company.
I mean, that even in and of itself kind of sounds a little unique, right? Like, I don't know what we're going to invest in. I don't know what business we're going to go in. But hey, give us your money and we're going to go figure it out. And we'll figure something out. And one of the reasons that companies really like these special acquisition companies is because they don't have to go through all the regulatory undersight that a company trying to go IPO does. A lot of times when you want to take a company public, it's like a year-long full-time job going through financial disclosures and all kinds of process to get there. This is basically a shortcut. This is kind of a way around those regulatory proceedings where these people put together these entities and say, hey, give me your money, and then we'll go figure out what to do with it and how to employ it.
Now, a lot of times I think people hear about this and they go, oh, this must be a brand new thing. No, these have been around for a while, but it is such a unique thing where you say, hey, I don't have it all figured out what I'm going to do with the money, but trust me, let's gather the money first and then go put it. That's why these are such a unique thing that if you look in historical context, they just weren't a lot of them. In 2009, there was only one.
There was one of them.
And you can see, fast forward to 2019, there was 59. 2020, there were 248. And then so far, we've only made it through 3 full months of 2021. And there's already been more in 2021 than there have been in 2020. That's concerning.
Now, so the immediate question you probably ask is, okay, guys, this sounds advanced, and this sounds like really out there, and I'm just an everyday investor. Why would I ever think about this, or why would this ever like bleed into my world? Well, it's because they've gotten kind of creative in how they market. They've gotten creative in the folks that they use to start talking about investing in these SPACs.
Yeah, there's been a lot of because what's happening is you'll have investors, hedge fund managers, others that will partner with celebrities and say, hey, go use the influence that you have as a celebrity, the brand that you developed, because that seems to be in vogue these days, and then go harvest money off of your celebrity status, go turn that into money for you as well as to bring people in. And I'll just tell you what I think this is. This is rich people helping not as rich people part with their money. And it's gotten to the point that the SEC, now, look, the government, they're kind of not the fastest moving folks in the world, but they when they get onto something, they're going to tell you very quickly if you're in danger zone. And the SEC, just in the beginning of March, I think it was around March 10th, they posted, this is a big deal, on March 10th, the SEC actually posted on their website a warning about these type of new investment products.
And what you can do is when you read through this was on March 10th, when you actually read through it, in bold, right in the middle of the paragraph, it says, it is never a good idea to invest in a SPAC just because someone famous sponsors or invests in it or says it's a good investment. Now, I'm going to take a step back for that. I'm going to say it is never a good idea to invest in anything just because a celebrity or someone famous says it's a good thing or says you should think about it. Just like we've said with everything else, you have to get back to the fundamentals. If it's somewhere where you're going to trade your hard-earned army of dollar bills, your hard-earned soldiers, you better understand exactly what it is you're doing and why you're doing it, not just because A-Rod or Sierra or fill in the blank told you that that's where you should put your money.
Be careful. I mean, like I said, if the SEC is getting involved, that means that even the big sleeping giant that's a little behind on some of the latest and greatest technology, even they're starting to notice that this is getting a little out of control.
I think, and this is another one of those things, right? Because we talk about when you listen to the financial report of our operations, people ask us all the time, hey, when should I start doing rental real estate? Or when should I start doing private equity? Or when should I get into smart doctor deals? Well, the answer is you have to have a firm foundation in place. So if you're someone who's thinking about doing a SPAC or participating in this kind of investment, I would take a step back and look at my current financial circumstance and say, you know what? Am I in the part of my financial life cycle where something like this is even something I should be considering? Or do I need to go back to the FU, and do I need to go back to my Roth IRA, and I need to go back to maxing out my 401k, and I need to go back to hyper accumulation? Don't allow yourself to let the excitement of some new and innovative and creative investment pull you off course of actually building true financial independence and abundance.
That is a perfect segue and setup for the next one, which are NFTs.
Yep.
By the way, if you want to know how much this is now seeped into society, I just sent around to everybody. I mean, when Saturday Night Live is now covering things, you're like, you know, the world
this must be pretty
is
mainstream
losing
now.
its mind. So NFTs, and by the way, something that I have disliked is now like in everyday conversation. Bo loves this word. He's used this word before I even knew what NFTs were. The word fungible. I got to tell you, I hate that word. That word just drives me crazy. And I first want to explain what fungible means. It means like when you go to an ATM and deposit money, and then you go 3 or 4 days and you go back to the same ATM and you pull money out, you don't care that the money, that it's not the same bills that are coming to you. It's still the same value. That's fungible, is that there's no difference in what you're doing. So some creative person that obviously likes the word that I hate decided we were going to come up with non-fungible, meaning these are all very unique. These are very distinct, things. But that's what we've come up with is non-fungible tokens. Now, remember what I said. We talked about the Beanie Baby creator. Is a billionaire because he created a market where it was perceived as, scarcity was really hard to come by these things. I get very excited about what NFTs mean for the long term, but I don't know that I buy into some of the hype of what's going on with some of the products or offerings that have been put out there in the marketplace.
Yeah, and what I think is interesting is, you've heard, cryptocurrency has been a thing that's been around. And you've heard a lot of folks say, I think we've even mentioned this, that, it's really interesting, the technology that supports this. When you look at blockchain and what it is and how it works and how it operates, that's kind of exciting. And there's a high likelihood it's going to change the way that we interact in this world. Well, NFTs have kind of banked on that. They have now become a thing that utilizes that technology. I think that's just another reason why the prevalence of them has really bubbled to the surface, especially here recently.
Yeah, I mean, to the point that, go ahead and show the collage on there. This is supposed to be worth $69 million.
Yeah, so I think one of the NFTs that was recently sold was by an artist named Beeple, and he sold this. This is the actual thing. And it's a collage of a lot of his artwork, and he sold it. He sold it for $69 million.
Now, here's what I think is going on. And I don't know. We didn't go deep on this, but I think there's a few things you have to be careful of. I think there's a lot of people, because look, Bitcoin and other cryptos, there's some young folks that have made a ton of money.
Sure.
Because this thing has gone from very low cost, low value, to now super high value. And I think people have not thought through, by the way, there's this thing called taxation. And if y'all don't think that the government is paying attention to what's going on with cryptocurrencies,
you're wrong.
Be careful, because you might be on some dangerous ground. Well, I think there's a whole group of people that money just seems fake right now, because they've turned a little into a lot, and they think that is outside of the government, so there's no accountability, no tracking. By the way, if you want proof of this, I want you to pay attention when you look at your tax return for this year. There is going to be a yes-no question if you're dealing with this type of digital assets. That's a trap, by the way. Pay attention, because depending upon how you answer on that question, it could haunt you financially, because if you say no, and then down the road the government decides, you know what, we're going to go to Coinbase and we're going to say, Coinbase, under you operate here in the United States. I want to see who your clients are. I want to see who your customers are. I want you to tell us everybody that's trading here. And then they're going to go and they're going to take your social or whatever identifier they need, cross-reference it with your tax returns. If you answer no and they say ding, 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 no, here it is, guess who gets to come and get a nice little either letter in the mail, a visit, or even potentially a full audit? Guys, just be very careful. But back to the point of what I was trying to make is $69 million is either somebody who has come into a lot of money very quickly, and this just seems like the next evolution of, hey, I jumped on that, it made me a lot of money, let's jump on this.
Now. Yep.
It could be, you also hear about all these things are also highly susceptible to money laundering. We saw that with even Amazon has struggled with people selling books for $3,000 or $4,000 that you could buy elsewhere for $17 because criminals were using it to essentially clean money.
Yep.
I think all these things. I even had a prison guard that I got to meet recently, who works for maximum security. No, it was a relative of a friend of mine. And he was telling me, we got to talking about cryptocurrencies, and I know we're traveling a little bit, but I think it all brings into the points we're talking about here. Is that he was talking about how criminals that he has coming into this maximum security prison. So this is not the white collar criminals.
Sure.
This is
The heavy
people
stuff.
you're scared about
Heavy stuff,
if you run into them on that on the dark street. He says that in the past, like a drug dealer would get arrested with $100,000, and that $100,000 would be confiscated by the police or the arresting officers, and it'd be gone. You get out of prison, you don't get that $100,000 back. The criminals have gotten smart. If you just trade in cryptocurrency, it's on your phone when you're doing the transaction with the buyer. When you turn in your phone when you go to prison, guess what happens when you come back out of prison? They hand you back your phone, and your cryptocurrency might be worth 4 to 5 times while you were in the clink. You were actually having an appreciating asset, and they weren't able to confiscate it. So all this stuff, and then you see foreign governments, like go do Google searches on North Korea and cryptocurrencies, and you'll see that there's still stuff. And you said it earlier, NFTs specifically are built off of blockchain technology. And it does remind me, we get so excited with innovation. Remember I told you about, I was around during the first generation, when the internet came to maturity. Everybody was making money hand over fist.
So long as just involved in internet.
All you had to do is
needed.
put .com on your business plan, and it would get a factor of 10 to 20 fold. I mean, you could write your own ticket just by putting .com. I do feel like, once again, we're all so excited about what the opportunities are with blockchain, with what's going on here, is that we might be getting overexcited at the opportunity to the point we're getting ahead of ourselves. Because let me tell you where I get excited about NFTs. NFTs are because it's unique creations that you're now trying to figure out a way to hold value to share on the marketplace. Guys, there's going to be YouTube creators. There's going to be people who create, the YouTube channel for the Money Guy Show, Graham, Stephan, others. You're going to be able to potentially in the future sell episodes or segments, and it's not there yet, but you're being a unique creator of something will be able to hold value potentially on the back of something like blockchain technology or NFTs. I don't think we're there, but I think we're hitting on it, and that's what's driving this frenzy to some degree.
You make a really interesting point, Brian, because I do think back to the late 90s and the 2000s when the .com thing was happening. Just because something had .com in it did not mean it was something that deserved for your dollars to be invested in. Now, a lot of those companies hung around, and a lot of those companies have now changed the world. And that very well could be the case as it relates to blockchain technologies and as it relates to NFTs and it relates to certain cryptocurrencies. But does that mean that for you, the investor, with where you are right now, it ought to be the thing that you're investing in? It ought to be where you are putting your money. It ought to be on where you're banking your financial independence, where you're banking your retirement. I don't know that we know enough yet to be able to say yes or no. And whenever you go into something so uncertain, I would say that moderation and prudence is often rewarded, right? So if you are thinking about that, I'd ask the question, if I want to go buy an NFT, what's the reason? Why do I want to own that thing? What is the value that I perceive that thing to have? If it's just because I want to get in on the craze and out on the craze, I would be really nervous that you could potentially buy the American Trio Beanie Baby and you might be buying it at the wrong time. And you might find out later, man, that was not the thing that I should have been doing with my hard-earned dollars.
Yeah, well, there's so much uncertainty because it's only as good as the community or the current market that's out there, because that's what's supporting the values that are being paid right now. And unfortunately, there's still lots of time. We're so early in the game. There's lots of time for consolidation and for this marketplace to mature. And there's going to be a lot of slaughtering. I'm just going to tell you, one of the things that makes me so sad is to see hard-earned money just essentially evaporated. And I think but that's what happens with creation. That's what happens with innovation, is that you will see good hard-earned money turn into evaporated lost opportunities and lost wealth. And you'll hear people, woe is me, this is what happened. And let me tell you a great story. And I'm telling you guys, there's a reason we have built the financial order of operations. Right. This is the foundation. This is the fundamental stuff. I don't care. My neighbors tell me about stuff they're doing, between the Reddit boards, the cryptocurrencies. I love it. And they always make sure they give me a disclaimer at the beginning. Brian, this is not what I'm doing with my real money. This is as Charles likes to tell, this is vacation money. This is not pay the mortgage money or what I plan on retiring money. And just make sure, that's my word of caution to you, is pay attention to, as Bo said, know your why, know where this fits into your financial life. Now, look, if you've done so well with saving the 25% of your gross income, you know that the family's going to be taken care of. You've checked all the boxes of the financial order of operation. I don't care if you're out there goofing off on this. We all have hobbies. We all have things we're doing. Just know your why. Know where this fits into your financial life, and then also always be very aware of those unintended consequences, whether I'm talking about taxes, government, oversight. Just think about that. Everything you do that you think might be under the cover of obscurity or being anonymous, just pretend it's not. And just ask yourself, does the light of day cause me to think differently about how I'm handling this? If it does, you might have a problem.
And our commitment to you guys is we're going to stay on top of this. These are the kind of conversations we have as a content team. We are going to keep making sure that we understand what's going on out there in the financial world so that we can share it with you guys. If you've not had a chance to go check out our website, go to moneyguy.com. We have a resource page that you can go check out, where we have all kinds of resources available to you, like how powerful are your dollars? Should I refinance? How should I think about my taxes? A lot of the stuff that you need help with in your day-to-day financial life, you can find for free on our resource page. So if you've not checked out the website, make sure you go and do that.
And then I know a lot of you guys have a curiosity, just like I do. You reached a level of success, and you want to kind of figure out who can be your co-pilot in this journey. You've reached a level of success where now you want to protect yourself from what you just don't know, your blind spots, and you need a co-pilot. Don't you want to be connected with a firm that has still the curiosity to try to figure this stuff out, so that we can kind of marry the awesomeness of what creates wealth in the long term, and we've experienced and seen it, as well as trying to bring in brand new innovation and seeing how that all fits? Well, we call that the abundance cycle. You come, learn, apply, grow, reach that level of success. That's why we can give it away. And then you get to that point, you remember the people that planted the seed. And that's where the abundance cycle kind of reaches, taking the relationship to the next level. Go to moneyguy.com. We have a work with us page. Guys, we just appreciate you guys. This all started as a passion project. You keep helping us grow. And I just thank you for subscribing and everything that you do for us. We're going to keep creating content. I'm your host, Brian Preston, Mr. Bo Hansen, Money Guy Team, out.